Hi everyone, this is Jake Webster and I am your pastor here at Sixes United Methodist Church. We are continuing our Holy Week video devotionals today with a story that happens in John chapter 13 verses 3 through 17. This takes place at the Last Supper. The first three Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, chose to focus on what we now know as Holy Communion. But John chose to focus on something different that reveals something about Christ's nature and about our call as Christians. So we're going to be looking at John chapter 13, verses 3 through 17. Let me read that for you. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come forth from God and was going back to God, got up from supper and laid aside his garments, and taking a towel he girded himself. Then he poured water into the basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. So he came to Simon Peter. He said to him, Lord, do you wash my feet? Jesus answered and said to him, What I do you do not realize now, but you will understand hereafter. Peter said to him, Never shall you wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, then wash not only my feet, but also my hands and my head. Jesus said to him, He who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean, and you are clean, but not all of you. For he knew the one who was betraying him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. So when he had washed their feet, and taken his garments and reclined at the table again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, the Lord and the teacher, washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you also should do as I do to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a slave is not greater than his master, nor is one who is sent greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Now in this passage, we see Jesus giving us the example of what servant leadership looks like. Jesus is establishing the fact that he is teacher, that he is Lord, that he is above all in his nature. And yet what he is doing in this passage is he is washing the disciples' feet. And he's showing them that as Christians, it necessarily involves sacrifice. If we want to be leaders, it necessarily involves being servants and serving other people. Now, this is an example of doing something that I can't even imagine doing. It's something that's really pretty disgusting. But at the same time, Jesus chose to do it to serve that, to show that if any leader wants to be effective, that leader must serve. And if any Christian wants to be effective, then it's important that we serve as well, that we sacrifice. And while this might seem difficult, it's actually a wonderful thing. In life, I believe in our heart, we all want to be a part of something that's meaningful. We all want to be a part of something that's special. I really believe that we don't want something that's cheap and something that's easy. If we're going to devote our time, our desire, our passion to Christ and to Christ's church, then we don't want something that's simple. We want something that takes sacrifice, because that sacrifice has meaning. And God uses that sacrifice to provide meaning, where we can be a blessing to everybody around the church, everyone in our lives, our friends and our family. When we serve them, it's a way of sharing the love of Christ with them. And yes, it is a sacrifice. And yes, it does mean service. But God uses that sacrifice and that service to bring meaning to our lives and to our ministry to all the world. And so I invite you, as we go along through this Holy Week, to engage in an act of sacrifice and an act of service to somebody. It could be big or it could be small, but I encourage you to think of something that's meaningful, something that's important to the person that you're serving. It could be as simple as washing the dishes, or it can be as difficult, if you will, of going to a soup kitchen. whatever it is, whether it is simple or difficult, I just pray that it's meaningful. And in that way, you are living out your calling as a Christian, and you're living out your calling as a leader. And you're engaging in something that is meaningful, that is going to change somebody's life forever. And so, as you do that, remember that it does take being a leader, and it does take, if we want to be a leader or a Christian, then it takes sacrifice. And I also want to remind you to come to our Holy Week events this week at church. Come to our Good Friday service at 7 p.m. this Friday. Come to one of our Easter services on Sunday. We have a sunrise service at 7 a.m. and then regular church services, regular Easter Sunday services at 9 o'clock and 11. I hope to see you there, and I hope that you invite somebody with you. It's going to be a meaningful time as we celebrate our risen Lord, who showed us the full extent of his love by dying on the cross and by rising again 3 days later. Again, I am praying for you this week, as I hope that you are praying for me. It's my pleasure to be your pastor and to be in ministry with you to all the world. Thank you so much.